are in the basement with Tim Ross.
Me and Sam were in Austin this past weekend, and as we know,
oh yeah,
the Roe V Wade.
Yeah.
So we were in Austin.
Yeah.
And it's like Dallas but on steroids.
For sure. I can't even imagine.
So we wake up and the protest, it was long. Like, it didn't end of the people going down the street from our balcony where we could see. And it was peaceful. No one was hurt. It was great.
Great.
But the one thing I did see when we were driving somewhere was outraged Christians.
Oh, jeez.
Outraged. And so I know you were talking to us about the outrage that people have had with the Buzz Lightyear movie. I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
I've lost a baby, not with my wife, but with someone else, to an abortion that I didn't have any consent to.
Yeah.
So, but I wasn't outraged.
Wow.
Because like you were saying, you're not surprised because it's the world.
It's the world, man.
So where are your thoughts right now with everything going on in that regard?
So Roe v. Wade, that ruling came down from the Supreme Court in 1973. My mother got pregnant with me in 1974. And I was growing abnormally in her womb. And Dr. Montgomery told her, hey, I don't necessarily agree with abortion, but if you try to carry this baby to term, it's either going to be you or the baby. And so I'd rather terminate this pregnancy and let you start over fresh so there won't be any complications. And my mom said no. She spent the last trimester literally crawling on her hands and knees. She couldn't stand up straight. I was pressing up against her spinal cord. And whenever they got in the car to drive, my dad couldn't drive over 20 miles an hour because every bump in the road caused her excruciating pain. And the woman delivered me. At the risk of her own life, she delivered me. It was her decision. It's her body. It's her decision. And she made that decision. And I'm here, right? Yay. I just talked to my twin brother, Preston, about this. And he said something that was beautiful. What we're rejoicing over is not we won and you lost. What we're rejoicing over is the fact that children that God spoke into existence now have the opportunity to come to full fruition so that we could see the manifestation of God's glory, potential glory in their lives, right? Like almost 70 million children have been aborted since 1973. Who have we missed in that number? What Einstein hasn't been born? What astrophysicist hasn't solved something for us? We don't even know what we've missed, right? And I believe, because I'm a Bible guy, I know this is probably going to piss somebody off. They're probably listening like really closely, like, come on, Tim, give it to us the way we want to hear it. I don't have a political bone in my body. So what you're not going to get is some political rhetoric for me. I don't do politics. I don't do politics. I don't think the Bible does politics. But let me give you scripture that I'm bound by scripture. Where the Bible's clear, I'm just going to be clear. Elizabeth gets married. Elizabeth gets pregnant as a much older woman. I think most people have her in her 70s at least when Zachariah gets her pregnant. If there's a woman that could potentially have complications, it's an older woman that gets pregnant, okay? She gets pregnant with John. Okay, 6 months later, her cousin Mary, a teenage girl who is not fully married yet, gets pregnant with Jesus. So you got this older woman who is now impregnated, and you got this younger woman. teenage girl who's pregnant, and they go meet each other. Okay. When they meet each other, Elizabeth is 6 months pregnant, and Mary is less than 30 days pregnant, which means Elizabeth is carrying a baby. I mean, we would say this is a baby at that stage, 6 months in, right? Mary's carrying a zygote. Bruh, we never use the word zygote because that's like chromosome level, right? You know what I'm saying? That's not even Beanie Baby. Elizabeth's carrying this fetus. Mary's carrying a zygote. And when they come into the presence of each other, the fetus, I'm getting chills even trying to say it. The fetus in Elizabeth's belly leaps at the zygote in Mary's belly. This is the only evidence I need for when conception begins. It begins as soon as that sperm fertilizes that egg. Now, you can plan B the hell out of that if you want to. It does not change the fact that life begins as soon as that sperm fertilizes that egg. Because zygote Jesus is testifying of this. Before his eyes were formed, before his ears were formed, before his spinal cord was formed, the fetus in Elizabeth recognizes the presence of a God man in the belly of a teenage girl. If there's two women on earth that could have justified abortion, it would have been those two. I'm too old. I can't be going through this at my age. If I should have had the baby younger, but I'm not going to be going through all these complications. And then for Mary, I could risk getting stoned. My husband's never going to, my husband to be is never going to believe this story. I got to terminate this pregnancy. Now, if that's too Bible thumpish, I don't know what to tell you. So Christians are outraged. Christians are outraged that the world is outraged that the Supreme Court decided to I don't want to say the Supreme Court answered the prayers of Christians. But they made a ruling that we as believers in Jesus Christ are in support of, right? The world is outraged by that. How can we be shocked as believers that the world is outraged by the fact that the Supreme Court sided with something that we feel like aligns with our biblical principles and values? You think they were going to be happy about it? Like, oh, man, shoot. Guess can't have an abortion now. And this is why I've always hated the whole every election year, like, it's all about biblical principles. Let's just make sure they're not aborting babies, and let's just make sure they're not having gay sex. That's literally all it boils down to, like every 4 years. Like, do we have biblical principles? Do you know Will and Grace came out on George Bush's watch? Like, a Republican president ain't stopping gay sex, ain't stopping gay TV shows. There was as many people getting aborted during George Bush's tenure and Trump's tenure as a Democrat's tenure. So if those are the only two boxes you're trying to check, stop it. Like, stop. I don't like that. Well, they got we voted in Supreme Court justices that had conservative values. Yay. I'm grateful for that. I'm cool with all that. But let's not act like every single person that we put in office is a pastor. Right? Like we're electing a president, not a presiding bishop over a jurisdiction and a denomination, right? Like, For all the people that love Trump, just stop. I don't mind you loving him. You get to love whoever you want to love, but don't try to act like he was a believer in Jesus. I don't want to hear that.